Hey guys, it's Will. So Rigetti stock is up 10% today after a big push up after their earnings came in on Wednesday. Now, one of the things that I want people to realize about Rigetti is the massive opportunity in quantum as AI starts to develop. You guys see all of the growth in AI, all of the new companies coming out, and the developments that are groundbreaking. This quantum computing space is aiming to grow at an unprecedented pace, especially with this exponential curve of AI. So we see Rigetti is up, IBM was up 5% today, Nvidia is up, IONQ, QBTS was down a little bit, but overall the quantum market had a nice recovery today. Rigetti had a firm landing here after what was an interesting earnings call where their revenue was down a little bit, and we're looking to see what it looks like into 2025's boom of AI, because that was just quarter four. Did I say quarter five? That's insane. Of 2024 that they just reported. Now, one thing to note is this overall trend. It just broke out above the 200-day moving average. So this green line oftentimes acts as a resistance. But in a bullish trend, it oftentimes acts as a support. So you see it above the green line. Now, it was below this green line and it started to break out the past 2 days, and getting above the 200-day moving average is good news. Essentially, we could see it sell down. This overall shorter term trend does look bearish, so it wouldn't be a surprise that we see it sell down here. But that being said, you could see it break above that 200-day moving average, and if we do see it continue some of this direction, the upside could be huge for Rigetti. So there's three things we look at. We trade this stock on a consistent basis inside of StockMeet each day at market open. And if you want to join and watch me trade live, it's that second link in the description. But one of the things that always comes down to how we analyze Rigetti is three-part analysis of the market, the analysis, and the plan for profit. The market of quantum computing is expected to grow between $2 to $5 trillion over the next few years, according to IBM and Microsoft. Microsoft just launched their new quantum chip. You see Google launched their Willow chip, as well as AWS, Amazon, launching their Ocelot chip. And so IBM just announced they had $1 billion in revenue from their quantum computing. So now we start to see some heating up. The market's expected to grow. But the next part of that analysis is, what does the financials look like? So this is the analysis side. Rigetti stock has an interesting look in financials, because when you're evaluating a company just based on revenue and the profits, it's going to be a little bit of buying what could be. It is buying what could be when you're investing in these quantum computing companies. Rigetti's getting a piece of the software, the hardware. So if you go into their company and we take a look, you'd have a pretty good understanding of what I mean when I say the hardware. Yep, one of these big bad boys. And you can see kind of how they work from the top down, all the way down from the signal chain to the temperature stages, down to that QPU that could fit a beautiful Microsoft chip or Willow chip there quite easily. So when you see some of their improvements on their tech, the companies that they're partnered with, like NASA and Nvidia, AWS, Microsoft, it makes sense why you have investors jumping in. And it makes sense that BlackRock and State Street and all these companies buy Rigetti. When we're looking to buy a company, we go through this three-part analysis. The market looks great as far as future growth in tandem with AI. The adjacent part of the analysis of financials haven't looked good. You can see their net income reported in December 2024 is that their net income was negative 150 million. That's down. And that's a lot of money to be a net income down when their revenue's at 2.2 million. Now, their revenues have been hovering around 2 to 5 million throughout the year per quarter. So they're doing some revenue. And to see $10 million in revenue is not too bad. I mean, over $10 million in revenue. But the net income negative, we saw it improving quarter over quarter. It was improving, the net income getting better. And then December, they just absolutely dropped their net profit margins down. Everything's not looking too good. And the thing about this, you see this and you're like, okay, people are buying what they could be. But Rigetti's company and their earnings, I didn't like that earnings call. I wanted to see, what is the usage like? We know Rigetti is plugged into AWS. Amazon is one of the biggest data managers in the world. They manage, AWS runs companies like Amazon. It's run companies like Tesla. Now Tesla developing their own proprietary tech, but right now you can see Netflix running on Amazon. Even Robinhood, the trading platform we're on right now, runs on Amazon AWS. So this is not a small partnership that you could use Rigetti computing quantum computers, the QPUs, through Amazon's AWS. But I didn't hear any mention of how much usage they're seeing through these channels of AWS or Microsoft Azure. You can use through the cloud Rigetti through Microsoft. So these partnerships, you would say, okay, let's hear in the earnings call, what does the usage look like for these partnerships? How much usage is happening of these quantum computers? How much usage is there through these cloud platforms? And we didn't get that information in the earnings call. I didn't see it. If you guys saw it, let me know. Maybe I missed it. Maybe I'm missing something. Maybe someone from Rigetti can talk to us. We called Rigetti. We tried to get a meeting. I left a message and spoke with someone, but wasn't able to hear back or get a meeting with anyone at Rigetti. Just went through San Jose yesterday. So I drove by NVIDIA, went through Santa Clara, and not as far as into Berkeley, really. I didn't go as into Berkeley, where Rigetti's based. But I've been in the area. I'm hoping to interview them. I'd like to ask some of those questions. But without those questions answered of how much usage they're getting, all we could look at is the financials, and they didn't look pretty. But when you look at the company and you look at their partnerships and where they're going and what investors they have, those things are promising. And a lot of the news around where quantum computing is going and the type of they're managing to process data through light. I mean, you can process data through light from two machines from 10 feet away. That's happening in quantum right now. They're processing data at the speed of light, and that's when you start to slow down light speed, and you can trap light. And these are the types of quantum developments. I mean, think about the LEDs on your phone. 100 years ago, according to everyone in the world, if you said, here's a light that's this bright and you could touch it without being burned, they would think you're crazy. That you could hold a phone and you can have something that bright and look at it and you can't get burned when you touch it. They would say that's crazy. LEDs we're talking about. There's lots of innovations in drug discovery and massive computations that wouldn't be otherwise possible with GPUs or classical computers, that this quantum computing company and others are solving. And so this is they have the hardware side, the software side, and you can see that they're partnered with some of the biggest companies in the world. So wouldn't it make sense that we'd see this company continue to grow? I mean, based on the news and what we see, that would make a whole lot of sense. Now they're shipping this quantum computer. Looks like they just got one out to Montana State University, which is great. And they have some people buying these quantum computers. And that's a nice direct business-to-business relationship that a lot of quantum computing companies don't have. But I could go try and purchase one right now and get quantum here on their website. They even have it orderable, which is cool, if that's a word, orderable. The technical analysis is kind of that A, B, and C. We go through the news, the financials, and then see this chart. I could say that it's at this resistance right here at $9.50. It's a pretty strong resistance. It's also been a support for Rigetti, pretty strong support. So previous support oftentimes will act as a resistance. It's good to see it break above the 200-day moving average. When you look at the RSI and the MACD, it does look fairly overextended. Maybe we start to get into this pattern that we saw in the last bull run for Rigetti, where it dips at market open and then recovers more throughout the day. There's economics, there's bigger widespread play that goes into Rigetti. For example, you might say Rigetti stock is in the AI space because they're, a part of the development of computing. And as AI gets more advanced and as we start to see it used more, computing is going to be a big part of that advancement. And so with big stimulus from, for example, Stargate, it's a $500 billion. You guys know Stargate, Sam Altman, Larry Ellison from Oracle, and you have the SoftBank CEO as well, pledging to put forward $500 billion into AI infrastructure. AI infrastructure is not just coding, it's not just the software, it's not just GPUs or computers, it's quantum computing as well. And so that's a $500 billion pledge there. There's another, and I think that could go, the reason I bring that up, I think it could connect to the quantum computing space. SoftBank CEO is very adamant about investing in quantum computing. He's spoken a few times about IONQ. And that's a piece that people don't realize. The funding for quote unquote AI could make its way into quantum computing. China, they announced they were investing between 5 and 15 billion into quantum computers over the next 3 years. Was it 3 or 5 years? I think it might have been 5 actually. And in that investment that they pledged, you have to ask yourself, now the United States government, there's that 500 billion as well, a different 500 billion, so it's about $1 trillion going into AI over the next few years. And you got to ask yourself, is that just going soft? No, it's going to go towards quantum as well. And I could see that play a role here. Some of the reasons that we bring that up too, you have the trade wars that are happening. You have, Ukraine saying, basically the U.S. government saying, we're not giving Ukraine any more money. I don't exactly remember where we saw it, but some of the world news for Ukraine, United States money given, something like that. You can see how much money is given to Ukraine from the United States. And at one point, if you look at the chart, there should be a chart somewhere in here. You could take a look and you can see all the different countries that have given to Ukraine. And I don't remember what it was, but the U.S. Aid to Ukraine number, it was somewhere in the range of like, I don't even remember. It was over 100 billion. I think it's like 150 billion. And so they say they're not going to give as much to Ukraine. Now you have some of European countries over there, or states, saying, I'm going to give more to Ukraine. So they're giving more. That's, the market got hit because now you have other countries upset about that. And then about the U.S. saying we're not giving any more. And then also, the U.S. takes a huge move to slap tariffs on China, on Canada, on Mexico. And to see the response from those companies means that, they're taking some U.S. product off the shelves. Or they're saying, now we're going to slap a tariff on you. And I think Canada said, now Teslas have 100% tariff. So basically, if you have a $50,000 Tesla, to get it into Canada, you're going to have to pay another $50,000 on that product to bring it in. And that was part of Trudeau saying that he thinks that Elon's too involved in the U.S. government. And so you have that happen, and then you have government cuts. So government cuts, cutting spending, that's happening too in areas not in AI, not in as much like infrastructure, but more in the space of finding government spending, Social Security, definitely in programs related to, well, I'd say it's widespread, but most government agencies are seeing some cost spending cuts from the U.S. Government. And so what that's going to mean is less money into those jobs or those economies or those people. And so maybe that means there's less spending in the US because they're not making as much and because there's a massive amount of government employees. Then that could impact, if they're not spending as much, then the reports are going to come out, the job reports, they look like a little bit better, but still not that good. So then that could impact, some of the investor sentiment. US economy could be in a tough spot as a result of that. Now, what does that mean? Well, then you see companies like Apple pledge $500 billion to be putting into building their own infrastructure in the United States. So you could see 500 billion USD over the next 4 years. Apple's going to be building in Michigan, Texas, California, Arizona, Nevada, Iowa, Oregon, North Carolina, and Washington, building and bringing factories into the US. And, then we start to see those types of things build more expansion and increase the economic value of the US. And while it's going to hurt some things, and that's part of why we see so much volatility in the markets, I would imagine that in, let's say, 3 years from now or 6 years from now, we start to see a very positive impact as far as self-sustainability or the usage of the resources in the U.S. being not only used more efficiently, but also being used more in general. And so I think those things could play a role that would, over the next few years, positively impact. But the reason we say those things is because there's a lot of that is going to impact some of the investments in maybe space exploration, possibly. That's not so much maybe of a focus from the government. Definitely could, impact aviation. Maybe that's not as much, or automotive. But I would imagine that there's going to still be a lot of investments from the government. It's not going to change, and a widespread economy into things like quantum and AI, because as we've all seen, that's one of the biggest advantages a country can have is AI, or it could be detrimental if you're not in a position to be able to protect against it. So that's a key factor. There will be robotics. There will be, we're going to see more building in just general infrastructure. Definitely blue collar could see a spike in value because, if we're having more demand in building in the US and things like that, that's going to go up. Everything in the US dollar side of things could become stronger, which would drive prices down or drive stock prices down. And the US dollar, I think it will stay relative. I don't think we're going to see a massive inflation of goods, but in the event that then we start to see growth kick in, all assets could rise quite a bit. So we're kind of going a little wider spread market. The quantum market, you could see in general, the companies have been recovering slightly the past 2 to 3 days after kind of a continued sell-off there. The 200-day moving average is telling. We'll see if it holds above on Rigetti. I'd like to see if there's any opportunities on Monday that present themselves. And again, if you want to watch me trade live at Market Open, it's the second link in the description down below. So the second link below to join StockMates, surround yourself with other traders and investors, and watch me trade live at Market Open on Monday. Thank you guys so much for watching. If I earned your thumbs up, hit that like button. Do consider subscribing, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Take care.